Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to do a tips and tricks video on Rainbow Six Siege. This can be a difficult shooter to get into because it doesn't really rely too heavily on your actual shooter skills, but much more so on map knowledge, strategy, and intel. Let's start off at the beginning, assuming that you just got into the game and you need to unlock some operators. Well, first of all, it's pretty easy to get some starting renown to get yourself a good starting set of operators. First of all, you can go through the tutorial missions very quickly. There's 3 of them, and you can actually skip them if you want, and it'll give you 200 renown a piece, which is 600 just to start with. Then if you want to go through and play some of the situations, which are single player modes that kind of teach you certain classes and certain ways to play the game, you can get up to 600 renown a piece on each situation if you get all of the bonus stars. Now, sometimes you can't get all 3 per situation, but still getting 200 or an extra 400 renown per mission is pretty easy, and in 30 minutes you should have enough renown to buy at least 4 or 5 operators. So what operators should you get? Well, they all have their uses and they're all pretty good to play, but if you're just starting off, I can recommend 2 good attackers and 2 good defenders. For defense, my top 2 picks are Mute and Rook. Now, Rook is very basic. You just slap down a bag of armor plates at the beginning of the round, pick one for yourself, your teammates can all grab them, and then you can basically just run out into the level and play the game as you would. There isn't too much of a learning curve to his class, and he has a P90, which is absolutely great for getting those clutch headshots because it shoots at like over 900 rounds per minute. He's also heavily armored, which makes him a very good class to try and sneak up on the enemies with, as you can usually get some good flanks going and absorb a bit of return fire. Now, Mute requires a tiny bit of map knowledge to play efficiently, but even with the most basic map knowledge, you can start placing down your sensor jammers in key locations to block off drones from getting into your objective area. You can place them at stairwells, you can play them at key choke points, and you can usually disable all the drones. Not only will this give you points during the rounds, but it'll make it very tricky for the enemy team to scout out your location even later in the round, and oftentimes people will start shooting your sensor jammers, and that'll give away their position. Denying the enemy team intel is incredibly important to winning the match. Now with the attackers, I like to pick Thermite right off the bat because he is a class that you do not want to be without if the enemy team has good defensive fortifications. He's the only class that can blow through reinforced wall fortifications. And if you don't have him, the enemy team can basically funnel you into a few entry points and make it much easier on them to defend those entry points. So Thermite is a class that can basically mix up or mess up a good defensive position and make the enemy team have to totally rethink their strategy mid-combat. Now the other attacker operator is Fuse. Now he's a highly popular operator and people are probably going to be fighting over to play him at the beginning of the round. And it's because he has these amazing breaching charges that shoot grenades into a room and basically kill people on the other side of the wall. If you have good intel and you know exactly where somebody's hiding defensively in a room, you can place those charges in key locations and get almost a guaranteed kill. He's a great class to use in combination with recon drones, scouting into rooms, going through little wall vents, seeing where people are, and then placing the Fuse charges. He also has the option of running with a riot shield or a more traditional assault rifle, so you have some variety with this class and he's a good entry class to play around with different tactics. Okay, so now that we have 2 attackers and 2 defenders, how the heck do you not get owned? On the attacking side, using your drones is crucial, both at the start of the round and again once you're sieging the level. If you manage to locate the objective with your first drone, try to hide it under a table or in a dark corner. Don't move or even turn as your drone will make noise, which will alert the enemy to your position. Once the round begins, you can then reactivate the drone to keep an eye on the enemy. If you hold X, your drone will 3D spot the enemies on screen, but I recommend not doing this and just verbally telling your teammates where they are, otherwise your drone will get detected. Now if your drone dies at the start of the round, it's okay because you still have a backup drone that you can activate once the round starts, but make sure to hide before activating as good defensive teams will usually have patrols in the complex and they'll kill you while you're driving your little drone around. One good tip for multi-story levels that have stairs blocked off with jammers is to rappel up to the roof and throw a drone in through a window so that you don't have to drive past the jammers. Don't underestimate the power of intel in this game. If you know where somebody is hiding, you will have the power to flank them, shoot them through the walls, or just know exactly when to peek the enemy. Now that I use my drone all the time, I'm getting accused of wall hacking because I know where and when to shoot through walls. Also remember to look for wall holes when scouting with a drone. Just because a room is empty doesn't mean someone isn't looking into it through the wall. Now how about some defensive tactics? Defensively, it can be fun to try and barricade yourself into the objective room, but it's important important to make sure you don't have all your eggs in one basket. When I play Rook, I set down my body armor pack and then usually move out into the map to find a good hiding spot. From here, I'll activate the remote cameras to try and figure out where the enemy team is attacking from. If you don't get detected early on, you can often flank the attackers at the most opportune time right before their main assault. In addition to that, when there are double defensive objectives, it's not a good idea to put up walls between them. If you see your teammates doing this, feel free to rip them down and explain why. It'll often be the reason you lose the round if you can't quickly switch from one objective to the other. Now, breaching charges are the bread and butter of this game. However, unlike the trailers, it's often suicide to breach and then immediately enter a room. In fact, I use them more as distractions, breaching a window in one area and attacking from another. That split-second distraction can be all you need to make a clean entrance. Rappelling in window entry is highly dangerous as you can't always quickly get out of dodge if things go bad. Make note of where your rappel line is in relation to a window and try not to place them directly above the windows but rather to the side. If you're right side up and peek into a window, the defender will see your line and know exactly where you're going to peek. Put your line next to the window, or even better, do an inverted window peek from the top. Most people don't expect this, and you can often see your opponent's feet before they can see you at all. Going prone. This seems like an obvious tactic for minimizing your visual signature, but it has added value in Rainbow Six. There are many wall vents that you can shoot through when prone, and you can get some cheap kills doing this. You can also see under barricaded doors. This is an easy way to shoot people planting breaching charges. In addition to that, you can often hit defensive electronics that are placed on doorways and then scout the room with your drone. Also, watch for Kapkan's entry denial devices. They are easy to spot if you know what to look for. It's a giant screw sticking out of one side of the door, and you can simply shoot through the barricaded door to disable them. Once you start to get the hang of things and want to try out some advanced defensive tricks, start breaking glass and objects in the environment. You'll notice that it creates debris on the floor and makes crunching sounds when somebody walks over, even if they are sneaking around. Barbed wire can also serve the same purpose, as it makes noise when trying to creep through. Now, beyond all of these tips, learning the maps is the most crucial aspect of getting better. Although small, they are crazy intricate, and just learning what walls and floors are breachable will give you a huge leg up on your competition. I hope these tips help you guys get into the Rainbow Six experience a little bit better, and hopefully rage a little less when your enemy completely and utterly annihilates you. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.